You're listening to the Author Inside You podcast, a weekly podcast designed to motivate you to finish writing a book, choose a publisher, and build an audience. Keep listening if you're looking to get propelled into the next chapter of your life. And now, it's the Author Inside You podcast.
Hello, I'm Matt Rafferty.
And I'm Leah Rafferty.
Joining us today is Bill Halpin, author of The Cult of Eden. Bill was born and raised in Orlando, and now he's an optometrist in upstate New York. Bill, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, Leah. Hey, Matt. How's it going?
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Sure.
Well, Bill, I hear that you have some interesting places to do book signings. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Oh, sure. And the idea wasn't mine, but my favorite place to do book signings is at any brewery that'll have me.
What do you do to approach a brewery to get a book signing?
Not too much. I mean, myself, I'm pretty experienced in drinking beer, so I know all the ones in the area. You just call them up, or I did either call or email, and just tell them what you're doing. I'm a local author. Book just came out. I'd love to have a little event going on, and 100% of them have been receptive to it. They love the idea. They don't charge anything. You just show up, bring some friends, drink beers, and sell some books.
That's
Hopefully.
Great. And then do they promote it?
It depends. One place was really great. She made me this creepy little tree to go along with my book and put up posters everywhere. Another one just put something on social media.
Well, it sounds like a fun evening, that's for sure.
It's great, and everybody is a few beers in, they might be a little more inclined to come over and talk to you and buy a book.
Well, Bill, when did you decide to become an author?
A long time ago. I was always been a big horror fan, Stephen King books, scary movies, and I was lucky enough to have family who liked the same thing, a roommate in college who loved the same thing. So we watched everything from major motion pictures to the very terrible sci-fi channel movies that were on TV on a Tuesday afternoon. And it just got to the point where watching, some bad movies, it's like, hey, I could probably, write something as good or maybe even better than that.
And your grandfather played a role in getting you interested in horror films?
Oh, yeah, he was great. Both him and my grandmother, we watched War of the Worlds. We watched any of those scary movies that came on, late night on cable channels. He got me hooked,
And so how did that connect to, watching movies as a kid to end up publishing a horror book as an adult?
Yeah, I actually started off writing it as a screenplay, and then doing some research into that. With a screenplay, somebody could buy it, maybe not for so much. And by the time it actually gets to be a movie, they've changed so much of what the original story was anyway. But if you wrote a book, that in itself, hopefully could sell. And if it got really big, that could be made into a movie anyway. So I kind of changed gears pretty quickly from a screenplay to a novel.
That's interesting.
And then what was your writing process like?
It was stop and go. When I first started putting words on paper, I was in optometry school, maybe my second year. And there were times where 6, 8, 10 months would go by without me even touching it because, hard semester or exams coming up or what have you. Then you graduate and I'm working full time. So from start to finish, it probably took me closer to 8 years, although I've been better since. And I'm already, more than halfway done with the sequel. So this time frame won't nearly be as long, I hope.
Well, that's interesting that you decided to start writing during school. What do you know? Was it therapy for you or what triggered you?
It was definitely a balance because with optometry school, it's like any kind of medical profession, it's memorization, it's bland textbook after bland textbook, and the creation side of it was missing. So this was a fun side project for me, and I always thought writers have kind of the best type of celebrityness there could be because you're not super famous, but people who like your genre of stuff may end up knowing you pretty well.
Well, yeah, it seems like authors their fans are very, very dedicated to them.
But you can still go to the supermarket without being swamped.
Right. Exactly, yeah. You don't really know what a lot of the authors look like.
Bill, tell us about publishing your book. Did you self-publish or find a publisher?
I did find a publisher, although I never could find an agent. I went through maybe 20 or 30 different agents, and kind of a common story. They don't get back to you because I know they're swamped with their own, with tons of people submitting.
Sure.
But I was going to self-publish if I didn't get anything, but I ended up finding a independent publisher who didn't require an agent and liked the book and signed me a contract.
So you had a publisher, and we heard that you had a title in your mind that you wanted to use, but they had a different idea.
The title of the book since the beginning was called Coloboma, which is just a kind of a rare eye deformity that the main villain of the novel has. And I thought that was the perfect title for it. But the publisher said, absolutely not, no way. Nobody will know what the heck it is and have no relates to your genre. Basically told me to change it. And I ended up changing it to The Cult of Eden, and now I think that's so much better. But it's so funny that you're so set on something, but there's people who know a lot more than you out in the world, and it's for the best if you listen to them sometimes.
Sure.
Right. They understand what's marketable, right?
Right. Without compromising yourself too much.
Sure. And what about the cover of your book? Did you get a say in that?
Very much so. I know it's not, I guess, always the case, but Cosmic Egg were very, and I don't know if it's easier for them, but they told me to, go onto Adobe Photo Stock. I'm not sure the exact site of it, and just find a couple different artwork that you think will be a good fit for your novel. And I did that. I submitted one. I said, this one is my favorite, and they agreed, and they took it and, put a couple edits on it and made it beautiful. I think I love the cover, and I love the fact that they let me kind of design it themselves. I like judging a book by its cover. I think a unique cover is sometimes the best part of a book.
Yeah, it seems like even if you don't want to do that, unfortunately, like if you're at a bookstore or a library, it is unfortunately a book cover does jump out at you, and you grab that book.
Sure, and when you're done and it's on the shelf, that's all you're going to be seeing. You're not going to open up and look at the words anymore.
Now, I see on your book cover it says Book 1. So did you know prior to even getting it published that you were going to write a sequel?
Oh, yeah. The story, it doesn't end on there's maybe a couple threads that are cliffhangers, but I knew the story and the kind of the world I built wasn't enough to hold in just one book. I don't know if it's going to be 3 or 4 yet. I know how the ending's going to come about, but I'm not sure how long it's going to take to reach that.
And you're working with the same publisher?
They haven't officially asked for the second book yet, but that's the plan.
Okay.
Excellent. Great. Bill, do you have any advice for people who are writing a book and they're busy with their career?
Well, the first thing, I'm not saying to take 8 years, but really make sure that you don't rush it out, because for me, when I finished the rough draft and then the first draft, I was excited. I was ready to go. Years went by, and I said, I'm done. But, I waited. I had some people knew what they were doing to look at it, and there's a lot of errors and a lot of logical mistakes that needed to be tightened up. Even though it's so tempting to put it out right away, you want to do yourself a favor and really make sure everything's ironed out as well as possible, because you only get one chance to make a first impression. I read so many books out there that unfortunately you can just tell we're rushed and they're full of mistakes, and that just kind of takes you out of it.
You're right. Typographical errors definitely do that. Bill, I saw on your Facebook page that you had a short story published in a book.
That just came out of the blue. One independent publisher that I wanted to go with initially, Dark Regions Press, they were closed to submissions, so I just subscribed to their newsletter. And every once in a while, they had just a writing contest that anybody could submit to. And this one was just about a horror story of a sole survivor on a deserted island. And so it was an anthology they were putting together. So it was, I think, short story. I forget what the max was, but mine was 700 words. But I won third place in that. Yeah, The Cult of Eden wasn't my first published. This came out just a few months before that, but it gave me a little bit enough earnings so I could join the Horror Writers Association as an associate.
Yeah, well, that's good advice, because some people might get disillusioned, but you kept at it, and here you found a rewarding experience through them, right?
Yeah, that will always go down as my first publication, technically. A good boost to go into the release of my novel.
Mm-hmm.
Do you look for any other writing contests, or was that just a fluke?
That was kind of a fluke. They've actually had a few more that I didn't write or do anything to submit to. I'm trying to focus on the second novel now, because I'm still at a full-time job. I'm working 6 days a week sometimes, and trying to do at least an hour a day. I wish I wrote more short stories. The first book is about 98,000 words, and the second one's going to be around the same word count.
This episode of the Author Inside You podcast is sponsored by
Scribophile. When you go to scribblefile.com, you'll find a community of writers. Across the top of the page, one of the tabs on Scribblefile is labeled Academy, and when you click on that, you'll find all sorts of great articles on how to make your writing better. Now, I just read the one on quotation mark usage. It's a great idea to get a refresher on how quotation marks should be used. When it comes to sitting down and writing your book, it can be difficult to remember exactly where the punctuation goes or whether you need one at the beginning of each sentence.
Some of the authors that we spoke to in the past have said that grammar has slowed their writing process down. That's why it's important to go to scribblefile.com and go to the Writing Academy tab. Some other examples of articles on the Writing Academy are correct colon usage, correct semicolon usage, and what are comma splices. These are all tools to help making writing easier.
So if you need a refresher course on punctuation, there's no place better to go than the Writers Academy on Scribblefile. So head over to scribblefile.com.
So talking about finding time to continue writing, what are some of your tips on how you find time to write?
Bringing a laptop with me, and even at work in between patients, I might open it up and try to crack out 20 minutes of progress. It's just whenever you can. I'm a night owl, so I don't really wake up. I can't do the waking up early to write. So before I go to bed, I'll try to get some time in there. Just every day, I have my laptop with me in my backpack, whether it's waiting for my car to be serviced or at work during a break. Just whenever you can.
Great. And is it also relaxing for you?
Yeah, I think because it's still I don't want to say hobby, but a part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
That it's still fun for me.
Now, did Cosmic Egg provide editing service?
They did. That's part of the contract. You submit the manuscript to them. They do their editing. They'll send it back to you to go through one more time before you submit it, and then it's final. And that's maybe if I had a second tip to tell the listeners is, it's not my idea. I can't remember where I heard it from, but I read the entire thing out loud to myself just to make sure everything sounded right.
Oh,
that's a great idea. Yes.
It picks up a couple things that everybody missed, even the editors. So it helps you see it in its totality. The advice that I did get was to read it all, if not in one go, kind of within a day or two, not over weeks, because then it loses that effect.
Oh, okay. Makes
Sure.
sense. Great.
Right. And did your family think you were a little crazy reading the book out loud?
A little bit, but I warned them.
You sit out on the front porch at night and read it out loud.
That's right.
On Goodreads, you have over 70 reviews of your book or 70 ratings of your book. How did you do that?
I sent a lot of networking. I sent out a number of advanced copies to any kind of reviewer that I knew liked horror or like dark thrillers. That kind of toes that line as far as the genre goes. And they all, still almost like agents where a lot of them just don't respond to you. A lot of them like free copies of books, and a lot of them took the electronic. I did get some advanced copies of the paperback that I sent out, so I ate it a little bit there. But it was worth it because reviews are almost worth their weight in gold. And it's been so far really positive reviews. I think there's a lot. I forget exactly what the average is now, but it's over 4 stars, which I'm extremely happy about. Amazon's doing well too.
Excellent. That's great. So how did you find the list of people to send them to? How did you do that networking?
I did a lot of it from Instagram. There was no list. I just kind of searched horror bloggers, and I found one and sent it to her. And I looked on all the people she's following and went down that list to see who might be interested in it and send it to them or reach out to them. I always asked first. I didn't want to spam them or assume they would take it, but most people are pretty responsive there.
Yeah, this is some great advice. So finding people who might be interested in giving you a review, asking them if you can send it to them, and then getting a review. That's great.
Once they accepted the book, I never really bugged them about, are you finished yet? So sometimes it took weeks, sometimes it took months before they got around to reading it. But when they did and they said, hey, we liked it, I said, great. And you mind posting up on Goodreads and Amazon? I think you just can't be afraid to ask that, politely. Ask the people who like it, not the people who don't like it.
Yeah. What are some of the surprising opportunities that have happened because of your writing?
I've been able to network with a lot of authors out there that I hadn't heard of. I Googled local authors and found a couple in my genre. So we've become friends, and we've done some of those brewery signings together because it's so much more fun to do it with someone than by yourself. it's gotten me a lot more proficient on social media. I didn't know what I was doing on Instagram a year ago, but now I'm pretty proficient at it.
Oh, excellent. So what would you say is the best social media that you use to help promote your book?
Well, definitely Instagram, because the community there is just a lot more, I think, responsive and fun. And I like the interface more than Facebook. And then my own website, which is billhalpinbooks.com, which I have to say, hey, you got my name right, my last name. A lot of people mess that up. I didn't even tell you how to say it.
No.
Why?
So
How did they say it?
Every which way you can think of that's wrong. Halpin, Halpin, Hallen.
Oh.
I would guess putting an R in there for some reason, like Halpin.
I've had that.
Yeah.
I've had reviewers put that in their review. Harpin.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Oh,
Does
jeez.
very well to terrorize you. And it's, I'm not going to say anything, but because it was a good review.
Well, we're looking at your website right now, and I have to say I really like it. It's very nice.
Oh, thanks. I put pretty much that all together by myself, just using Wix. We'll give a shout out to a website, unsplash.com. That gives you a lot of free, really high quality photos that you can use without having, needing any rights to it. Most of the pictures on that website came from there. If you look at the website, the logo with the eyeballs, that
Yes.
has that coloboma in the pupils, if you can see. That I got designed from somebody on Fiverr.
Sure. We've used Fiverr too, yeah.
Oh, it's great.
And then I think it's cool because when you scroll up, you can see more of the picture underneath. I think that's really neat. Everyone needs to go to your website and check it out. And then
Yes, they
purchase
do.
a book at the same time, right?
What the heck? The cool thing about Wix is that you can use it for free and you can design a website for free.
Oh, yeah. I actually got quotes. I knew another optometrist who does that on the side or has a company for it. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he quoted me like hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, hey, I don't even have a book out yet. I can't, I can't swing that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe when I hit it big, but yeah, which is the way to go for all you beginner authors out there.
Well, Bill, what's a good way for people to get in touch with you if they want to reach out?
Yeah, I'm very responsive on email, Instagram, Facebook, and the website has a has a contact form on there as well. So those four are the main ways.
And the best way to purchase the book, Bill?
Amazon would be probably the best, but it's for sale anywhere books are sold. Any major retailer, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, they all have it in ebook and paperback.
Now, your publisher got it on those websites?
Yeah, it's on the publisher website as well. Although we didn't talk about it, the publisher is based out of the UK.
So tell us a little bit about working with them.
It's primarily through email. They have a publicist that they assigned to me, which we did a few Skype calls. But other than that, just got to deal with that time zone difference. But it's also nice because they have people in their network from the UK. So I have, and then, my contacts in the US, so we can team up on those.
Great. And a larger audience.
That's the plan.
Yeah. Well, Bill Halpin, author of The Cult of Eden, thanks for joining us on the Author Inside You podcast.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
If you have any questions for either Matt or myself, please drop us a line on our Facebook page, The Author Inside You.
And until next time,
Right on.
Thank you for listening to the Author Inside You podcast with your host, Leah and Matt Rafferty.